Good morning. Welcome to episode 31 of Wake Up West Orange. It started getting more chilly outside, so much so, guys, I got my sweater vest on this morning. But it's good to be with you. If you got hot chocolate or hot coffee, none of that cold iced coffee stuff.
No.
But whatever your beverage of choice, if you're joining in live or later, if you wake up later, you had stuff to do when this aired live. Either way, it's good to have you with us. And speaking of cold, how about if we start this time? Last week, we talked about Christmas questions, and I almost said Christmas question. Anyway, but the coldest Christmas that you remember, whether it's in Florida or Missouri or Alabama, Tennessee, what do you remember?
Well, I don't know if it was the coldest, but it was.
Well, that was the question.
I know.
The teacher's defiant.
Yeah.
No, but there was a Christmas. It was actually Christmas Eve. We were supposed to go down to my nanny and Papa's house. We always did that, all of my mom's siblings, and she's one of 6. And so there's a whole bunch of people. And it had this big ice storm, and it was so just bad for a long time. And so we didn't go down. And so I don't know, that year we missed Christmas at Nanny's, and we didn't get together every month or anything. It was Christmas, and then maybe once over the summer you'd see somebody. So it was rough. So it wasn't the cold per se. It was just the not being together.
Yes. It was emotionally cold.
It was so sad.
Okay. Is that me next?
It's
Yeah,
you.
why not?
Yeah.
You said Alabama. I mean, I did grow up in Alabama, but we had some Christmases, I'm sure, that were cold. I do not remember. But after I got married to Kayla and we started going to her families in Tennessee, those were the coldest. And one year, I don't know exactly what year, but we were really smart and it was very cold. And then we went to way up Lookout Mountain to see the lights and stuff up there, which, it was even colder. So, I mean, it had to be way below freezing the night we were up there. So that's the coldest I'm remembering right now. And it was very cold.
Right.
So,
Well, speaking of the ice storm thing, you mentioned that for me, it was 1985. And we actually were staying at back where the house where my dad had grown up on the farm to help with the farm because there was such a bad ice storm, and yet Dad was not there most of the time. So my uncle and aunt lived there at that point, and my grandmother, and so my mom, we all were there to help with things. And yet him as a journeyman lineman at the time, he still is and is a foreman, but he was out with the whole crew for 2 weeks, almost the whole time. But it was very cold, and just, remember seeing snow and ice. And I'm sure we had others temperature-wise that were similar, maybe more, but that's the memorable one. And in Tennessee, people remember that, the ice storm of 85. So anyway, you can put in the comment section if you like to, the coldest one you remember. But it is funny that being in Florida, while it does change and you get colder and need this stuff, it's nothing like I was. There's a lady at McDonald's just yesterday. I was meeting someone at McDonald's for breakfast, and the lady was there to help or whatever, and she's talking about it's getting colder and it's going to be even colder tomorrow. And she said, but not as cold as where I'm from. And I was like, well, where are you from? She's like, well, Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
it's like, I only miss the snow at, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Other than that, I don't miss the snow. So, but anyway, put in the comments if you have something. So what about a memorable gift you received as a child? What's something go back to many, many moons ago? And think of a Christmas gift maybe from Santa Claus that you got.
Well,
and you can share
let's see.
As well.
Santa always brought a new pair of slippers. Always, every year. And certain things like that in the stocking. But I don't know. I think that the most memorable would probably be the time that he brought a keyboard. Now, I do not play the keyboard. I do not play piano.
Okay.
Sorry.
couldn't do it if I had it in front of me, but I was so excited to get that. And I remember I'd sit and I'd play with it. It was one of the kinds that you would do the button here and it would do this beat and this rhythm and
Okay, a little Casio.
yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was just so much fun.
Those are fun.
But yeah, I never really transferred it to something useful. So
Oh, that's okay.
And how old were you?
I was probably 8, maybe 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Keeping the same. Okay. So when I was, I don't know, 11 or 12-ish, somewhere in those, I don't know exactly, 6th grade. How old are you in 6th grade? 11, 12.
Well, did you
So-
pass the first time?
Oh, that's an important distinction.
I
Yes.
hardly ever get one of those in on Tim, so boom. It's always the other
Well,
way.
I mean, what if I hadn't? How would you feel? I mean,
I know. Then I feel really bad.
yeah,
I'm making
no.
fun
Okay.
of you.
I did not expect it. We had looked at him a little bit, and I was interested in drums and stuff, because I like drums.
Yeah,
And
you're good at
Dad's like, go downstairs, because we lived in a house that had a basement in Alabama. Everybody has a basement, and Santa had left me a drum set, or brought a drum set for Christmas. So
Very nice.
that was my most memorable.
Had you
year.
ever played drums before then?
Just a little. I had been in beginner band,
Okay.
and I was using Mom's pots and pans quite literally in the kitchen. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
that's probably
Go
why.
to the basement.
Yeah, she probably
Yeah.
called Santa on the hotline. And was like, "You're
Yeah.
going to bring my son a drum set because he's
Yes.
ruining my pots and pans."
You can play guitar
A little bit.
and you can play drums.
Yeah, drums are my main. Like that's what I started. Yeah,
Anything
and then.
else?
Well, I took piano lessons. I can play
Okay.
piano a little, but it's really, I don't, I mean, I can kind of read music, but not really. It's just one of those weird things, like on the piano specifically. And we have some, other people we know, kids in the youth group are this way. If I hear it, I can play it. I can just go sit down and play it, but I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
But you can't.
No.
No keyboard for you, so.
Not at all. And
That's
It's okay.
but you got your own,
Yeah.
I
your own
did.
interest and gifts, so.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But okay. Well, for me, it's funny that I can remember so many Christmases, how old I was, what year it was, and I remember 1986 getting a Nintendo, getting Mike Tyson Punch Out, getting Mario Brothers. I remember in 1989 getting a Game Boy. Which Tim, show him your Game Boy.
Oh yeah, my phone
Tim's
case.
got one now.
My
in
phone
his
case
40s.
is a Game Boy, and it has you can actually play games on it, but it's also my phone. So yeah.
So yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
those are ones that that I remember. I remember the Game Boy one because that year Santa wrapped the presents. Some years they were just sitting out, and some years elves or whatever would wrap them.
Yep.
So they were out. And before I opened the Game Boy, I opened a Game Boy holder. And so it's like,
Maybe next year.
Spoiler.
yeah. And so
So for
I
my
remember
birth-
Mom was distinctly.
And you've already
was
had your
like,
birthday. so
Yeah, and I
that's
think
like,
that might go with that next one you need to, open.
Santa left a hint. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's flip it. And we were talking about this on set here in the studio before we started. That it's unscripted, but we kind of have a direction. So, but that it is interesting that this time of year, while we should give and be generous year round, that we do special things, extra things as a society. It's not like, we can always do a special thing in any time, but as a society, these are the times it's like, hey, do for angel trees and stuff. Jamie's work, picked out for the kids and stuff. Sure. I remember a church in Nashville. This was just one that I don't know if they still do it, but there was an anonymous donor that would donate. It was either $50,000, but I think it was $100,000 to the church, and then they would get them all in $100 bills. And distribute it to every member, every kid. It wasn't like per family, and you could add to it if you wanted to. But either way, you took that and you distributed it to somebody, whoever you, if you had someone in mind, or if it just you came across someone over that Christmas season. So and that was a neat way, I thought, to really teach about generosity and giving. So, but whether you got a giving story or something about that, because that's truly, along with Christ, what it's about. More than what we get,
Yeah.
is more of giving. So, what about a giving story?
As in when we've
Whether you or
okay.
church group,
Gotcha.
Again, our church every year.
It seems like we kind of talked about this, but this time of year, that's when people really think of it. Mm-hmm. And it'd be nice if we thought of it on the random months when it's not a holiday and not that a spirit of giving, if you will, a season. Mm-hmm. But I think it's special that everybody is always at the same time thinking about it. That's kind of interesting because you go out to eat. They say, "Well, do you want to round up to the next dollar or something to give to this?" Or it happens in so many big and little ways, which is kind of great.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you'll go out and you'll see, somebody ringing the bell and doing the different things like that. So it kind of, it creates that, I don't know, just that magical feeling that Christmas has that you don't get other times. Mm-hmm. At the church that Brett and I attended before we moved down here, one of the things that they would do, they had these great big, I don't know what was originally in these jars, but they were huge jars, like mason jars, but like for giants. I don't know. They were huge. And they would take all these coins and they had different teams. And so you were either on, I don't remember how they divided the teams, whether it was from different areas that you lived in or if it was names, but you would put your money in all the time. And the coins counted for your team. And if you dropped a dollar bill or any paper money into the other teams, it counted against them. And so it was a competition.
Oh, wow.
We've done that at the school. I call that. Yeah,
yes.
That's neat.
Yeah. And then at the end of the year, because this went on all year, at the end of the year, we would take that money and we would use it to help families that needed, like those paper angel families. Right. And it was just an amazing thing. And every year on the same day, we would get together and we would wrap the gifts, and they would also make cookie baskets that had the cookies and the fruit and the nuts. And then after we'd all done that together, we would disperse and deliver to different families that needed them and nursing homes and sing. It was just magical.
That's right. And that's the true spirit and being Santa's helpers.
Yes.
In situations. So
right.
Very good. Anything else on that? We had one last thing we wanted to kind of talk about today. But. Okay, well, if anything, we don't have to belabor the point, but so Tim has an angle on the Christmas story and the wise man and the gifts, and we thought that'd be a good way to kind of wrap this one up, put the bow on it today. So,
well, we've talked about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks with the sermons that are coming and going during this time of the year.
Dynamic sermons.
Oh,
and kids connections.
I mean, out of all the sermons I've ever heard, yours are definitely some of them. But we were discussing. Shut up, drum set. Anyway, yeah, blah blah blah.
The singing truly was Heavenly Sunday. I put that in Brian's budget yesterday.
Well, I am grateful every week for our praise team and what they do to enhance our experiences for worship, for sure.
You do a good job in the selection.
Thank you. In the story of Jesus' birth and as all that is kind of happening, there's several different things going on, and I love stories like that where we know that we're anticipating him arriving, yet there's also the drama of his parents and how he came to be, and Herod and the innkeeper and the shepherds and the magi, the three wise men, of course, and all those things are going on. This is just something that was interesting to me, and we were talking about it, is the wise men, the magi, come to see Jesus, but they bring what seems to be very, to them, important, extravagant, probably expensive gifts, and they bring this to essentially Mary and Joseph, but they're presenting them to him, to Jesus, and the thought was, he's a baby. He has no appreciation at all for what these items are. And I don't know that they kept them for him later. I don't, when he was older, if his mom had a special trunk of his, childhood things or whatever. But to me, that kind of represents something more, because it starts off by saying they talk to Herod, and it says we want to know where Jesus is going to be because we're going to go worship him. Yet somehow it changes, and they mean well. It's nothing wrong with what they did, but I wonder how often we do similar things in our own lives that we bring sometimes the wrong things, the things that we assume he wants, when really all he ever needed was us. All he ever expected was just us to come and worship.
That's right. And culturally, I mean, maybe that was what you brought, and I think these were Gentiles. These were from Babylon. It says from the east, that had come to worship, and so that was kind of significant that, a lot of the Hebrew people didn't even recognize him, but yet, these others did. But yeah, great point that, Jesus didn't really need and doesn't need today anything. He really wants us, and kind of to the same point, just think of this is, a lot of times we think of what's that gift I can get that person.
Right.
And sometimes we get something that they really could use, or maybe something that they want but wouldn't spend it on themselves. It's kind of interesting. My mother-in-law is that way. She'll get us nice gifts from time to time, like a new washing machine. Got it from Aggressive Appliances. Well, that was an expensive washing machine, but yet she wouldn't buy something for her that was way less expensive,
right?
And so we were able later to get that for her, for her birthday. But having said that, a lot of times, but to the same point, Tim and Angie, what about the greatest gift we could give others is ourself as well, right? Friendship.
Sure.
That's why I'm not getting y'all anything. I'll just
thank you.
Here it is. No, just because, but seriously,
I think that's the point. Yeah, I believe that's the most important. My mom. This will be our Christmas. This will be the first one without her, with our family. And we've talked about that a little bit, is that we have all kinds of crazy stories. Mom was so funny, and she loved holidays. She wanted us to celebrate Arbor Day, every holiday, and we will talk about that, I'm sure, as we're together pretty soon for that. But she would always have presents and stuff, but she did not want us to give her anything. Even though sometimes we still would bring her something sort of like your story, she just wanted us all to be there.
That's right.
Yes.
Just be together. So sometimes those are the most precious, important things. So, and actually they are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and asking the kids for their Christmas list, it's getting harder and harder. As they get older, it gets harder.
Yep.
But I was asking Bennett and Tori for their lists, and Bennett said, can I just write down nothing? Because I really don't want anything, and I don't think there's anything I need. I said, well, no, you can't, because your Nana won't be happy.
But let him write it down and frame it.
Yes. But I don't know. It made me smile to see that he's recognizing that. And, that's what really does make us happy. It's that time together. And whether that is time together on a phone call because we're apart right now, or whether it's just that face-to-face time and we're able to have some of those traditions together.
Yeah.
That's the important thing, is giving of ourselves to each other.
That's right. Well, speaking of Bennett, and I noticed Sunday morning getting here early, Tim setting up with the praise team, you're setting up things with the kids. Bennett, and sometimes there's some other helpers too, like Emilio, but Bennett sets up the communion cups and the masks and the hand sanitizer and the cards in the baggies, membership cards or visitor cards, I guess. And I think that's great that you're teaching him, come to the building, serve. Here's a way you can serve and give.
Well, and that's always been an option for him. I've given him that option. You can come with me, or you can go with your dad. No, I'm going to come with you, because he loves doing it.
That's great.
So.
That is awesome. So, and that's something that's been going on for months and months since we started back. So, so yeah, there are ways we're able to learn to give and serve other than the season. So, anyway, don't know if we'll get any comments based on, we kind of got off from the questions to just Todd. I didn't think to keep doing that, but anyway, good to be with you this morning. Hope you have a great rest of the day.